In this video, let us prove 5 minus root 3 is irrational. We have already proved that root 2 is irrational. We have learned in class 9 that root 2, root 3, root 7, etc. are irrational. We also learned that sum, product, difference and quotient of a rational and an irrational number is irrational. The sum, difference, product and quotient of a rational and an irrational number is irrational. So 5 is rational and root 3 is irrational. The difference of a rational and an irrational number is irrational. This proof is also based on the method of contradiction. So let us assume the opposite of what we need to prove actually. We need to prove 5 minus root 3 is irrational. So let us start the proof by assuming the opposite of what we need to prove. So let us assume the contrary, that 5 minus root 3 is rational. We actually need to prove 5 minus root 3 is irrational. So we start the proof by assuming 5 minus root 3 to be rational. So we know that if a number is rational, we can write it in P by Q form. And in its simplest form, if we write, both the numerator and denominator will be coprimes. So corresponding to this rational number, we have assumed that 5 minus root 3 is rational. Corresponding to 5 minus root 3, there exists, if 5 minus root 3 is a rational number, there will be existing a numerator and denominator which are coprimes. So we can find coprimes A and B where B not equal to 0. We know that the denominator of a rational number cannot take the value 0. Yeah, that is, we can find coprimes A and B such that 5 minus root 3 equals A by B. By rearranging this, if we take A by B to the LHS, we get 5 minus A by B equals root 3. We know that 5 minus A by B is rational because 5 is rational, a rational number minus another rational number. So 5 minus A by B is rational. 5 minus A by B is rational and this is equal to root 3. Since 5 minus A by B equals root 3 and this is rational, means this should be also rational. This equality means if this is rational, this should also be rational. So 5 minus A by B equals root 3 implies that root 3 is rational because 5 minus A by B is rational. But we know that root 3 is irrational. So when we have assumed that this 5 minus root 3 is irrational, we got a contradicting statement that root 3 is rational. By proceeding by taking 5 minus root 3 to be rational, we got root 3 as a rational number. This contradiction has arisen due to our wrong assumption that 5 minus root 3 is rational, which means 5 minus root 3 is irrational. Hence the proof. As we have proved the difference of a rational and an irrational number to be irrational, we can prove the sum, product and quotient of a rational and irrational number is irrational by this method of contradiction. Now let us see the proof of 3 root 2 is irrational. We start the proof by assuming the contrary, that 3 root 2 is rational. We are using the method of contradiction in all of these proofs. So this proof starts by assuming the opposite of what we need to prove. So we need to prove 3 root 2 is irrational. Therefore we assume the contrary, that 3 root 2 is rational. If a number is rational, we can find coprimes A and B such that 3 root 2 equals A by B, where A and B are integers and B not equal to 0. So taking the 3 to the RHS, 3 becomes 1 by 3. So root 2 equals A by 3B. We know that A by 3B is a rational number. But root 2 equals a divided by 3b, which is a rational number, means root 2 is also rational. When we have assumed 3 root 2 to be rational, we got a contradicting statement that root 2 is rational. This contradiction has arisen because of our wrong assumption that 3 root 2 is rational. So we have proved the product of a rational, 3 is rational, and an irrational number is irrational by the method of contradiction. So we start by assuming the contrary. When we move forward, we get a contradicting statement, and this contradiction has arisen because of our wrong assumption that 3 root 2 is rational. If you are asked to prove root 2 is irrational and hence prove 3 root 2 is irrational, you have to first prove root 2 is irrational, then only you can proceed to prove 3 root 2 to be irrational.